Was the Renee Good shooting justified?
No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my fucking God!
Deadly force may be used only when a designated immigration officer, as listed in paragraph A23 of this section, has reasonable grounds to believe that such force is necessary to protect the designated immigration officer or other persons from the imminent danger of death or serious physical injury. Applying that law to this situation, the question becomes, did Agent Ross have reasonable grounds to believe his use of force was necessary to protect himself from imminent danger of death or serious physical injury? So the question is not, did Agent Ross believe he was in danger? The question isn't even, was Agent Ross in danger? The question very specifically is, did Agent Ross have reasonable grounds to believe that he was in danger and that his use of force was necessary to protect himself from that danger? Starting with the first part of the question, did Agent Ross have reasonable grounds to believe that he was in danger? Also, when I say danger in this context, I mean imminent danger of death or serious physical injury. Looking at the video, we see her reversing and then driving forward while he's in front of the car. So a couple things to get out of the way. Number one, a car can most certainly cause serious physical injury or death very easily. Number two, just being in front of a car does not mean you're at risk of that danger. There are relevant questions such as, how close are you to the car? How fast is the car moving? Are you in the car's path? And remember, the analysis here isn't, was he actually in danger? The analysis is, from his point of view, did he have reasonable grounds to believe that he was? One of the officers reaches to open the door. She then reverses with her wheels turned to the left. While this is happening, the officer is walking across the front of the car. And then once she stops reversing and begins to accelerate, the cop reaches for his gun. From this angle, you can see how far away Agent Ross was, starting from when the officer reached for the door handle, to when the car began to accelerate, and then when he reached for his weapon. Here's normal speed, so you see how fast this happened. I show normal speed because another relevant question is, was the officer able to get out of the way? How much time did he have, and how much time would it take him to move out of the path of the vehicle? At the time that he actually fires the shot, his entire body pretty much is outside the path of the vehicle. But then you have to think, based on how quickly this happened, is the path of the vehicle super obvious from his perspective? To me, it's still unclear as to what exactly he was seeing in that moment. And so I have a hard time making a judgment as to what's reasonable from his perspective, because it's just not totally clear what his perspective really was in that moment. So if that's all I was examining, the answer that I would give to the answer if it was justified is, I don't know. But we still need to be considering what led up to that moment where he was faced right in front of the car. Did he have enough time to get out of the way? If he was a normal citizen, maybe not. But Agent Ross is not a normal citizen. He's a federal agent who's held to a reasonable cop standard. Specifically, Ross is a law enforcement officer for the DHS, who we know is trained to avoid intentionally and unreasonably placing themselves in positions in which they have no alternative to deadly force. We also know, prior to joining ICE, Ross worked for Border Patrol from 2007 to 2015. Border Patrol trains officers to avoid standing directly in front of or behind a subject vehicle. Specifically, they should not place themselves in the path of a moving vehicle or use their body to block a vehicle's path. It then explains immediately after that, just like the DHS, the agents should avoid intentionally and unreasonably placing themselves in positions in which they have no alternative to using deadly force. The reasonable standard for someone who's served nearly 2 decades in Border Patrol and US immigration is to avoid being in front of a vehicle, and especially to get out of the way if you are in front of a vehicle, especially if that vehicle is moving. Here's the video recorded from Ross's phone.
I said go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
Whoa!
As soon as he sees those officers going in for the arrest, he knows there's a chance she's going to flee. So if his goal is to help the other officers make the arrest, then he needs to move quickly across the front of the vehicle. He should not be walking and then stop.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car.
No! No! Shit!
We can't just judge the cop in the moment of threat, we have to look at the totality of circumstances. The Supreme Court in Barnes v. Felix affirms this when it says the moment of threat rule applied below prevents that sort of attention to context, and thus conflicts with this court's instruction to analyze the totality of circumstances. An obvious example of this is a cop just walking and laying down on the road doing push-ups when all of a sudden a car comes at him, and then he, instead of getting out of the way, decides to shoot the tires of the car to make it crash. Even though the cop had a reasonable belief that his use of force was necessary to protect him from imminent danger or serious physical injury, it's not justified because he put himself in that situation unreasonably. There's also a reason that I said shot the tires and not the person, because shooting the person is not going to stop the vehicle. He's still going to get hit, and so that use of force would not actually protect him from the danger. Similarly, from Agent Ross's perspective, the reasonable cop standard is not going to allow him to think, maybe if I shoot this person, the car is all of a sudden going to stop. That's not how it works. Considering all those facts, I say the Renee Good shooting was not justified. There's also an interesting question regarding the fact that he shot 3 times and 2 of those bullets were on the side of the vehicle. The question there becomes, okay, did he realize the threat was gone at that point? It happened pretty quick from bullet 1 to bullet 3. I believe it was less than a second. Did he realize the threat was gone by that point? And that question really does matter because the bullet that he shot from the side was likely the bullet that killed her. One of the injuries was to Good's left forearm, the lawyer said in a statement, while another gunshot struck her right breast without piercing major organs. Neither of those wounds was immediately life-threatening. A third shot entered the left side of Good's head near the temple and exited on the right side. Obviously, this bullet shot from straight ahead is not going to be able to enter through her left side and exit through the right side of her head. If you want to see me go into more detail or answer other questions related to this incident, then you can see all that in my Notion linked below. Let me know in the comments what you think about this incident.